To our esteemed guests and the young theater and drama enthusiasts who are with us today, mayad nga adlaw. When I received the invitation to speak about national artist for theater Severino Montano and his work, I was very tempted to say no. For one, and this is on me, I wasn't familiar with his work. My fault, yes, because I do teach theater and drama classes. Also, in my life, as a playwright, an actor, and a teacher, I have never really been exposed to his plays. I have heard of him, of course, from theater people I look up to, but I have never seen a performance of any of his plays, and I know that he has written many. So I was tempted to say no. But I didn't. Because in spite of what I just said, what I am, and I am saying this from the heart, is a lover of the theater. I love reading and watching plays. I love acting in them. I love saying the dialogue out loud to check if they are crisp enough, if they are dramatic enough, or if they are in character enough. I love envisioning them being performed on a stage, under the lights, in front of an audience. I also love discovering new plays and new playwrights. And while this might sound strange, because I didn't say no to the invitation of sharing my thoughts on Severino Montano and his plays, I went about the business of discovering him and how his mind works. And I did it much like how I went about the business of discovering new voices in the theater and new plays to include in the reading lists of my classes or the theater seasons of Tanghalang Ateneo, the drama company I used to head as artistic director. And the journey led me to this point, this talk. But first things first. Who is Severino Montano? Like many in the theater, he was a multi-hyphenate. He was primarily a playwright, yes, but he was also a director, an actor, a producer, a designer, a choreographer, a singer, a theater administrator. Kumbaga, bago tayo nagkaroon ng theater multi-hyphenates, katulad ni na Rolando Tinio, who was a playwright, director, actor, translator, poet, critic, essayist, educator. Anton Juan Jr., who, like Severino Montano, also acted, directed, and produced the plays that he wrote. And Rivera, who is a playwright, actor, singer, director, translator, artistic director, theater festival founder, to name a few, nauna muna si Severino Montano. So in many ways, he paved the way for so many of us, Filipino theater artists, and he did it brilliantly. His plays, 40 out of a total 50, were staged in theater venues here and abroad. Born in January 3, 1915 in Lawag, Ilocos Norte, Severino Montano finished grade school in Lawag, but eventually found himself studying at the University of the Philippines, where he majored in English and where he also later taught. And while his theater training began at the young age of 13, when he studied under Marie Leslie Prissing, a British actor living in the Philippines who took him under her wing, it was at the UP that he developed a passion for it. And so his career in drama 1930. He enrolled in all the drama courses in UP and eventually became president of its dramatic club. He spent the war years and several years after that in the United States, where in 1942 he earned an MFA in playwriting and drama from Yale University. This is aside from the MA in economics and the doctorate in private and public administration that he obtained from the American University in Washington, D.C. in 1949. For his MFA degree, he learned not only about dramatic structures, Shakespeare, Ibsen, Aristotle, and the Greeks, whose influences can be found in his plays, and dynamic characters who are willing to risk everything to get what they want, but he also gained valuable production experience, which will later serve him in good stead when he returned to the Philippines to pursue theater doing theater full-time here. In Yale, he trained under several mentors, many of them big names in the theater, and under their mentorship wrote several plays that eventually got staged in several parts of the US. And then he returned to the Philippines, where he covered a lot of ground, not only theater multi-hyphenate, who wrote, produced, directed, acted, and even sang and danced in his own plays. In 1953, he founded the Arena Theater while he was Dean of Instruction at the Philippine Normal College, or PNC, now the Philippine Normal University, or PNU. This company staged almost 200 performances and had a repertoire of 4 major plays, something that Bulwagang Kantipala also does today. All of them he wrote. The one-act plays Sabina, The Ladies and the Senator, Parting at Kalamba, and the full-length play The Love of Leonor Rivera. All these plays were written and performed in English. How he started the troupe is an interesting story. Natty Crammy Rogers, who was his first stage manager, shared this story in her foreword to Volume 1 of the book, Selected Plays of Severino Montano. We began from nothing. Dr. Montano put up his own money, about 1,000 pesos, to start the Arena Theater. PNC, the Philippine Normal College, now university, could only afford to pay him a token salary of 25 pesos a month. Impelled by the earnest mission of bringing drama to the masses, and knowing PNC could not afford him, Dr. Montano volunteered his services. In fact, this was the reason I rallied behind him, and why all the other teachers in the college did. Since he was also a specialist in economics and management, he offered his services for free to plan for a self-financing national drama program that would serve the grassroots, the barrios of the Philippines. Arena Theater started as a project of Severino Montano students in speech personality development at the PNC. As mentioned, he provided the initial capital of about 1,000 pesos and conducted a training program that soon extended beyond PNC. This he did to help increase the number of playwrights, actors, directors, technicians, designers, and administrative officers in the country's theater scene. This is admirable because in the 50s, the Philippines is still so many years away from cultural and funding institutions like the CCP and the NCCA. But he did it on his own. Well, assisted, of course, by like-minded individuals like Natty Crammy Rogers and the teachers of PNC, but the planning, the vision, the execution were, for the most part, things that he did on his own. It must have been so hard to bring theater to the barrios of the country in the 50s. But after all, this is something that is difficult to do even today. But at least, we now have the CCP and the NCCA to help us by providing us with competitive grants. Tapos, bakit Arena Theater, you may ask, instead of, say, the PNC Drama Company? This is where Severino Montano's MFA degree and theater training in UP and in the United States come in. You see, this company used arena both as technique and stage format. An arena theater is a theater without a proscenium, or that arch in a theater that separates the stage from the audience. This was popular in ancient theater, particularly in Greece and Rome. Also known as theater in the round, the acting area is completely surrounded by the audience. So, no backdrops, no tall set pieces that will block the sight line of the audience. It also lowered production costs, something that is well suited for groups with limited resources, like Severino Montano's Arena Theater that did not have an adequate auditorium, no carpentry workshop, no lighting equipment, and whose audiences at first were not large enough to fill a decent auditorium. This artistic decision to stage theater in the round enabled Severino Montano's company to travel everywhere without the problem of big and bulky backdrops and tall set pieces to carry from town to town or barrio to barrio as his company aimed to do. Alam nyo, they traveled and performed in arenas found in open fields, municipal plazas, and just about any available space that can be transformed into a performance area that is completely surrounded by its audience. In time, the group expanded into 45 self-supporting branches, mostly in Pangasinan, Negros Occidental, and Cebu. To make the plays, which he wrote in English, resonate with local audiences, they were translated into native languages. So, the cast spoke not in English, but in Pangasinense, Ilocano, Hiligaynon, and Cebuano, a guide for establishing a national theater. So why write in English? Like all artists, Severino Montano was also a product of his time. To understand him, one needs to first understand what was going on in the world, his world, at the time he wrote his plays. With the establishment of American colonial rule at the start of the 20th century, the United States brought to our shores American ideals and lifestyle, primarily through a nationwide grassroots level educational system that is, syempre, we learned our ABCs for us to understand the stories in the hardbound, colored books that the Americans distributed all throughout the country. And these books told stories that in reality we couldn't really relate to, like those of blonde and brown taking rides in their family's car or pulling a toy wagon in their concrete, picture-perfect sidewalk. And instead of saying, Jane, Jane, ay abaw, ano ri a Jane? Or, oy Dick, tingnan mo ito. Dick, Dick, tingnan mo sabi ito. They said lines like, oh father, see funny Dick. Dick can play. Or, look Jane, look, look. See Dick. See, oh see Dick. Harmless, idealized, that was so very different from the lifestyle of the Filipino provinciano child in the barrio. Like Severino Montano, who attended grade school in Lawag in the 1920s, or myself, who grew up in Antique in the 70s. Yes, I am familiar with these books shipped from the US to the Philippines, including those featuring Dick and Jane, as I read them over and over again in my grade school years. Theater in English therefore became the immediate result of the language and the educational system that America brought to us. English soon became the language of the schooled and the learned. Of course, old people like myself have horror stories about being made to speak English while inside school premises. Otherwise, we got fined 15 centavos for every vernacular word, in my case, kinaraya, that our teachers and classmates heard us using each time we opened our mouths. This, of course, led my karaya classmates and I to stay quiet na lang, as the idea of conversing with each other in very mannered English was horrifying. Oh, Teresita, Hari, Hari, why are you walking like a turtle? Yes, horrifying and funny, so we would just end up giggling and laughing at each other's failed attempts to sound like Dick and Jane. So it began in the classroom, the effects of American-style education. It started with textbooks that had examples of short American plays that were read, discussed, and performed, to American short stories and poems that were adapted into plays and dramatized in classes. In time, Filipino students got used to writing and speaking in English. That mastery of language was inevitable. With mastery of language came plays in English written by Filipinos. It started with short presentations for school events like the celebrations of Rizal Day and the School Foundation Day, and then plays written to be performed in community events like municipal fiestas and religious feasts became popular. Soon, Filipino playwrights became at ease with English that they wrote more and more of these English language plays, got them published in textbooks for students all over the country to read, discuss, and perform, much like how it was during their time when these Filipino playwrights were also students themselves in similar Gabaldon-style classrooms all over the country. This was how a kinaraya and, sige na nga, English-speaking provinciano like myself got acquainted with plays like Wanted a Chaperone by Wilfrido Maria Guerrero and New Yorker in Tondo by Marcelino Agana Jr. They were required readings in our English classes in St. Anthony's College and Antique National School in San Jose de Buena Vista, Antique. After discussing the elements and merits of the play, including and addressing the all-important what is the moral lesson of the play, our teachers would then either give us a quiz or divide us into groups and assign each group with an excerpt from the play. We assigned each other roles and rehearsed the scene before performing it for a grade, syempre, in front of our teacher and classmates. If we were good enough, we would sometimes get the opportunity of performing these scenes in front of the whole school during the celebration of English Week and Book Lovers Week. Soon, legitimate theater was born in our country. By legitimate, I mean theater that had a legitimate stage, as opposed to the temporary, open-air performance spaces of folk theater, and had its audiences pay for tickets in order to access it. This type of theater, of course, required a playwright, a director, actors, designers, technicians, and other practitioners who were now considered professional, meaning they got paid for their services, and a company to produce, promote, and market these theatrical productions. By this time, theater was no longer just a classroom exercise, but a real art form. Severino Montano was part of this development along with his esteemed contemporaries like Wilfrido Maria Guerrero and Alberto Sorrentino. They wrote in English, yes, but the plot of their plays, their characters, and the problems they faced were undeniably Filipino. And talking about his plays, here are three that I really like. I consider these plays classics, and I'll explain why later, that should be staged over and over again. The first is Parting at Kalamba, originally produced at the Arena Theater of the Philippine Normal College on March 6, 1953. Natty Cramy Rogers and Severino Montano, who also directed the production, played the roles of Saturnina and Jose Rizal. Considered by Natty Cramy Rogers as one of the finest plays ever written on Jose Rizal, this one-act play is about our national hero and how he had to leave his family to ensure their safety. It takes place a few months before Rizal's martyrdom and execution by the government and the church on December 30, 1896. At this point in his life, he had already written The Reign of Greed, a book that greatly angered the ruling Spanish officials in the Philippines. By the time the play opens, we learn that Padre Dalmasio, Rizal's former teacher at the University of Santo Tomas, is visiting him and his family to offer him a professorship at UST, 100,000 pesos, a huge amount at that time, at syempre hanggang ngayon malaking pera pa rin siya, and several haciendas, so he can indulge in his fondness for farming. All these in exchange for retracting everything that he has written. Rizal, of course, rejects the offer, no matter how opulent. This angers Padre Dalmasio, who threatens Rizal and his family by saying, "Now I have positive proof that you are planning a revolution. You are plotting to overthrow the church and the Spanish government. You will massacre all of us Spaniards if you get a chance. But we shall see who is the stronger. We will use everything in our power to crush you. We'll put you where you belong." After he leaves, Rizal and his family realize that it is no longer safe for him in the Philippines. It would be best for him to leave for Europe. They make plans for him to leave that very night. So he leaves our Rizal, much to Doña Teodora's sorrow, because she knows that when he passes out of their door, the hounds will get him wherever he is, and she shall never see him again, her beloved Pepito, gone from her forever. This is that scene which ends this tragic play. Playing Jose Rizal is Brian C. Doña Teodora is Dolly de Leon. Saturnina, Rizal's sister, is Thea Yrastorza, and Trinidad is Jam Binay.
He has to go tonight. It will be for the best. He can take the path by the lake and reach Pansol in the morning, and from there the farmers will know what to do.
All our men have left us.
It won't be long before they come back again, Mother.
Kuya Pepe, are you really leaving us?
The Philippines should be a happy land, Trinidad. But the present is a fearful thing. We must work to usher in the coming of a glorious dawn for everybody living here. Just think, Trinidad, in the long and dark night, you and I will tend the seeds we've planted, and when the dawn comes, we shall be able to see those seeds growing freely. The oppressed of our land shall no longer be deprived of the fruit of their labors.
Go, Kuya. The evenings will always be dark without you. Come back to us.
We shall be waiting for him to come back, Trinidad.
Pepito, son, something tells me they'll never allow you to come back.
Let's just think of it as a beginning, Mother.
Don't worry about your suitcases, Pepito. I'll bring them myself to Manila in the morning. Take this brooch. You can pawn it just in case you cannot hear from us. Go now. As you are, there will be less suspicion.
Thank you for everything, Ate Neneng. Give my apologies to Cuñado Manuel for dragging him into this. And when you write to Kuya Pasiano, tell him everything. I know he'll understand.
Don't forget us.
We'll pray for you. Only come back to us.
When you pass out of that door, Pepito, the hounds will get you, wherever you are. Then, what of us will be left weeping in the dark night? What of your sisters and me who will be left alone in this house? Our friends will not come for fear of the things you have spoken. This house will be falling, surely no roof to hold back the tears, no walls to cry in, not even loved ones to remember. There will only be the broken pieces of us scattered like dead dust in the dry summer wind. Only the poor will come, but this house will be torn down. Only the memory of it will be left. But what will that mean to your many nieces and nephews, the crying of the empty wind?
That memory shall not be empty, Mother. An evil wind will blow into this house and into this land. It'll cry in the depths of men's hearts and leave them heartbroken, but the oppressed will take up my voice. They will wash the plains and hills with their blood and drive the foxes from our orchards. And when the valley shall be free again, this house will no longer be empty. It's hard to say goodbye, isn't it? Even if we had said so many goodbyes to each other, but this time leaving you breaks my heart. You who made my childhood bright and happy. I wish now I could say the same for my nieces and nephews, but someday I shall bring back the smile to your face once more. Goodbye, Mother. Have faith. Say goodbye to Father for me and tell him why I've made up my mind to go. Goodbye to you all. I go with the dream that some sunny morning we shall all meet again in this house.
He is gone now and will never be back again. The deep of night is coming. I shall never see him again. He is gone from me forever.
He will bring us to a new day. Surely, He will.
Fetch me a candle from the altar, Trinidad. I want to say a prayer for your brother.
Doña Teodora starts to pray the Our Lady of Peace and Good Voyage when Saturnina turns wearily away from the window as the curtain falls. The second play is The Love of Leonor Rivera, originally produced at the Arena Theater of the Philippine Normal College on November 26, 1953. It was so successful that the play broke all drama performance records in the history of Philippine theater, with continuous productions all over the country from 1953 to 1964. The play takes place in the receiving room of the house of Don Antonio Rivera, Leonor's father, on April 11, 1882. It is Leonor's birthday, her 15th, and she is happy because her beloved Pepe Rizal is coming to the party. This happiness is short-lived, however, as Rizal has to leave for Europe that very night. Lagi na lang umaalis papuntang Europe si Jose Rizal, ano? His writings have angered the Dominican friars, and the situation has become dangerous for him and his family. The two lovers, Rizal in Europe and Leonor in Camiling, continue to stay in touch with each other through letters. Soon, however, Rizal's letters stop coming, leaving Leonor worried that her beloved has forgotten about her. She then gives in to her mother's wish for her to be married to the rich English engineer Charles Henry Kipping. On the eve of their wedding, it is revealed that Leonor's mother has been intercepting the two lovers' letters to each other, making them think that they have both forgotten about each other. But the wedding pushes through, mainly because of Leonor's mother, who tells her to stop this awful nonsense. Forget your dreams. Forget your daydreams. Forget all these wild concoctions of your sick mind. You must come down to reality. So, Leonor marries Kipping and soon has a child with him. Pero she suffers from deep melancholia and becomes very, very ill. Kipping's devotion is deep and selfless, but Leonor has not learned to love him. Ailing, she lives in her memories of her beloved Pepe. Just before the play ends, poor Leonor receives her last visitor, Rizal's sister Choleng, who tells her that he is in exile in Dapitan and has never stopped loving her. She then dies peacefully, and the play ends with her remorseful mother's contrition and her beloved Pepe's spirit coming for her. The two lovers, at long last, are reunited. So here now are three scenes that end this tragic play. In the first, Leonor receives Rizal's sister Choleng, her last visitor. In this scene, Binay will play Leonor Rivera and Thea Yrastorza, Rizal's sister Choleng.
Leonor,
Jolene, what are you doing here?
I came to see you. We've missed you.
Have you? Really?
The whole family has missed you. Although we never said it to you.
Tell me some more. Oh, tell me. Tell me.
Ate Sisa and Kuya Pasiano are visiting you tomorrow.
Why? Tell me about everybody.
You're not looking too well. We came to see you because we heard you were ill. Now don't lie to me. Be as honest as you've always been with me while we were in college together. Hasn't everything been all right with you?
You silly girl. I'm well, and I'm happy.
Well, I'm glad you called me silly. Yes. I've been silly, haven't I? But I love it. I love it because that's me.
I've been myself, and look what's become of me.
No, you haven't been yourself. You've allowed them to push you into your life.
Let's not talk about me. I'm dying to hear all the news.
Ate Sisa and Kuya Pasiana sent me ahead.
Why?
Because I've had the courage to be myself. That's why. And as a consequence, I defied all of them. I don't give a hoot if they are ashamed of me, of what I've done, because I've followed the promptings of my wild heart. But I've lived a full life free from frustration. That's why the family always tries to make me walk alone. And I want you to know that I love it.
How often have I wanted to be like you?
How different our lives might be if we were not what we are.
It's too late now.
Kuya Pepe has missed you. I know that's what you've been wanting to hear.
God, yes! I know, how long? How long has it been? Tell me, how is he? Where is he? Is he safe? Tell me everything.
He is lonesome in the Pitan. The government officials and the friars, as usual, are after him for everything. For using his brains, that is to attack their evil ways and their corruption. So they cooked up the idea of exiling him there.
Poor Pepito. Is he well?
Yes, only he is lonesome.
Why hasn't he ever married?
You should know the answer to that question.
And who is this Josephine Bracken?
Josephine. Oh, she's all alone in the world. Poor thing.
We are, all of us, alone. All alone in the world.
My brother took pity on her. That's all there is to it.
How different everything might have been had we defied our parents. Had he come to Kamiling that time when he was so near to me in Pampanga.
I'd have defied everybody to snatch at my happiness. That's what I'd have done.
You are a shooting star that moves ahead of time. I wish I had been like that.
We are what we are, I guess. And time limits most of us. I understand. Far be it for me to accuse you. Only now you've got to get out of this sorrow.
I wish I could. But I'm way down deep in the mire of my feelings. However, who knows but that life might yet turn out to be beautiful. I feel it coming. That incomparable loveliness, that beauty which one so rarely glimpses before death.
Yes. That's one way to look at your story. I must really say hello to Tia Betang or she won't forgive me. I'd like to see your boy and talk to your husband too.
They are here somewhere. Look around for them. You miss me so much when I'm gone.
Of course, darling. All of us would. But why talk of death?
Choling,
Yes,
do you think your brother would?
Kuya Pepe, of course. Of course he would. I know it.
Does he still love me?
He cannot love anyone else.
You make me so happy. God, how long has it been? How empty the years have been without his love. I'm glad I know he still loves me. Now I don't really care if my candle of life is extinguished. I want the rest, Choling. I only want the rest.
Come on. Pull yourself together, darling. You had better lie quietly here and rest for a while.
Thank you.
It might be best for you to sleep.
Oh, I so want to have a long, long sleep. I want to rest. Darling,
Yes, darling.
before you go to see Mother, do you mind playing that music box?
Oh, of course not. What a pretty and lonesome little tune. You rest for a while. Hmm?
I will. Is it evening?
Yes. Calm now. Don't worry too much.
Good night.
Rest. Rest. That's the idea.
Good night.
Calling goes. Leonor has now closed her eyes very peacefully. Gradually, the tune from the music box becomes softer until it dies. Then all is completely still. Leonor now also sleeps in the deep silence of death. In this scene, Dolly de Leon will play Doña Silvestra, Rizal's mother, Leonor's mother. Thea Yrastorza will now play Leonor's aunt, Tia Sabel, and the two lovers, Pepe Rizal and Leonor Rivera, will be played by Brian C. and Jam Binay.
My child, my darling, beautiful child, what have I done to you? Wake up. Time has fled. Wake up and talk to your mother.
She is dead. Your own sweet, lovely child is dead, and you have killed her.
Isabel, don't leave me alone with her. Let me be punished for my sins, but don't leave me alone with her.
Oh, what a waste. Nevertheless, you had your fill of victory. Time has fled from her, but not from us, whose selfishness had become the burden of her life.
Time is long, and the years stretch on and will punish me. Forgive me, child. Forgive me.
With her death, you must close the windows of your house and let no light come in. Let that be your punishment. Goodbye, and may God be with you.
Sabel! Sabel, don't leave me alone. Don't leave me. Sabel!
The room is dark, except for the faint blue light of the moon coming in from the window, pouring over Leonor's dead body. Her blue gown seems more blue under the soft beam of moonlight. After a moment, and from out of the dark shadows, Jose's spirit appears. He calls out to her as from some impenetrable distance.
Leonor. Leonor.
Pepe, I've been waiting.
Rise and let me look at you. There. How does it feel to die?
Wonderful. It feels like being on a hilltop and you can see everything in its proper perspective. I can touch the silent stars.
I've long wanted to touch the stars.
You will touch them, darling. I know you will also touch them. Before I say goodbye to Earth, before you go to your great death, tell me once more you love me.
For eons and eons of years, I'll say it. I'll say it to you in my dreams. I'll say it through the eternity that will join us.
Say it also to life, which was not too kind to us. To the stupid men, those foolish, selfish, crazy mortals down there. Say it, darling, for soon we are going to reach the hilltop.
Goodbye to you, beautiful but cruel Earth. Take time to look at the stars and play the violin. Do not forget our songs.
Goodbye, world! Goodbye!
Come away, my darling. Come away.
And as lightly as the evening breeze. The music increases, the lights go out, the final curtain falls. Ang galing-galing ni Severino Montano, ano po? The third and last play that will be featured in this lecture is my most favorite of the ones I have read, Sabina, originally produced at the Arena Theater of the Philippine Normal College on March 6, 1953, and again directed by Severino Montano himself. The story is about Sabina, a young farm girl of 18 who falls in love with an American merchant from the city, Mr. George Price. Set in a small farm village in Kawakan in northern Luzon, the play opens with prayers for the dead and the lines, "Death is a loneliness, death is a sadness." The wake is for Sabina's mother, who many people believe died because Sabina was fool enough to go out with Mr. Price. Everyone is against the relationship. Only her grandfather understands Sabina. Later that evening, Mr. Price arrives to visit Sabina, who reveals to him that she is pregnant with his child and wishes for them to get married. Mr. Price informs Sabina that though he truly loves her, he cannot marry her because he is already married. Sabina runs to her room. A gunshot is heard, and she is brought out dead. Soon, the prayers for the dead begin again. Here is the scene where Sabina reveals to Mr. Price that she is pregnant. Thea Yrastorza will play Sabina, and Brian C., Mr. George Price.
Mr. George, I wish to tell you a dream I've been dreaming. I want to come to the city with you.
Cities can be so tiring, Sabina. City folks are so tiring.
Is that true, Mr. George?
Very, very true, dear.
Do they tire you, Mr. George?
Indeed, they do.
Then I don't want to tire you.
Oh, we all have dreams. I, too, have a dream. And mine is here in Kawakan. Don't you like it here?
As long as you're happy, then nothing at all will matter.
I'm happy here, Sabina. Come. Don't you think it's time to go to sleep?
Just as you wish, Mr. George. I'll have your room ready in a minute. Before we say goodnight, there's something I want to show you.
Yes, dear. What is it?
I've worked on all these handkerchiefs myself, Mr. George, every night while you were away.
Oh, Sabina, they're lovely. To Mr. George. well.
I'm glad you like them. They are for you, Mr. George. There's a little thought I wove into each letter, Mr. George.
Darling, I cannot thank you. You're the sweetest thing.
I kept thinking you and I would be married someday. And I'll bring you a child into that house and many more if I'm able.
Sweetheart.
There's just one more thing I want to show you. For the gift itself, I'll bring you into that house.
A baby's bonnet. Sabina. Do you mean... are you?
I'm so glad I told you.
That's wonderful, darling. Sabina, have you told anyone?
I've told no one, Mr. George.
Are you very sure, Sabina?
I'm very sure, Mr. George.
Then don't tell anyone. Not yet. Not for just a while yet. Will you, dear?
If you wish it, I shall tell no one. Aren't you happy, Mr. George?
Yes. Oh, of course, my dearest.
I'm so glad you're happy. And I'm so happy we're to be married.
Come close to me, darling. There's something awfully difficult I want to tell you. You cannot get married.
What? Why? You don't mean what you're saying.
I do. I'm already married, Sabina.
You're telling a lie.
I'm telling you the honest truth, dear.
And it's...
Yes, it's true.
Oh, it's true then? What my brother said is true then? There's someone else? Someone is between us?
She can't come between us. I promise you. Somehow I've never known her, my wife. I mean, she can't make herself a part of me as you have, Sabina. And I wanted so much to keep your life.
You cheated me. You've lied to me.
I didn't want to lose you. That's why. Honest, I didn't.
You lied. You lied. You've cheated me.
Dearest, I couldn't help it.
You'll never know what it is to love.
I never knew love until I met you.
Oh, I can't believe anything you say now.
Oh, dearest, you must listen to me. You've got to believe me.
The first time you said you loved me, I believed you then as I truly believe in a God. And then I came to you thinking there was nothing between us. But you've cheated me. You've lied to me.
Don't say that. Nothing should matter between us. Let's just go on being happy together, just as we have been doing, Sabina.
I can't be happy now. There's an emptiness lying between us now. A wide, black, silent darkness. And no power on earth can ever brighten this darkness again.
You've got to listen to me. You must listen to me.
I can only hear them laughing now. I can only hear the misers of love laughing in the darkness.
Others can't come between our love.
Perhaps they're not misers after all. Yes, I can hear them shouting. Outside love, all is death.
Oh, no, Sabina. Don't speak of death. We still have love.
They're only the others now. I can hear them clearly. You'll be lonely, Sabina. You will be alone. Let go of that lamp. Marry him then, if you can. Only don't ever call on us. Mr. George, I can hear them coming. I can hear them laughing. Mr. George.
Sabina, for God's sake, listen to me.
No. This is all so strange. I believed you, and then one day you lied, and then I woke up and my belief in you died forever, and I can't believe in myself anymore.
What are you saying? Think only of our love. Think of our love.
And what of me? What is to become of me? What shall I ever tell them now? Mr. George, Mr. George, help me. Tell me it's a lie. Tell me everything is not death. Tell me there's a love better than life itself.
Yes, yes, Sabina, our love. Our love. Better than life itself. Oh, I love you still. You must believe me.
I'm scared of them, Mr. George. I mustn't be afraid.
We love each other always. Always.
We'll watch the darkness together.
You must get a little rest now. You must sleep. You must have something to quiet your nerves. And now, you'll be all right tomorrow.
Oh, yes. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. I'm happy for tomorrow, Mr. George. I am not scared now, Mr. George.
That's right, dear. That's right. I'll get something from the car to calm your nerves.
I'm all right if you promise to come back.
I shan't be a minute, Sabina.
I'll be waiting, Mr. George. I shall be waiting forever.
That's good. That's the girl.
Outside love, nothing lives. Tomorrow, love will live. Tomorrow, outside love. Oh, Grandpa, where are you? Mother, where are you? Mother, death lives. Death lives. Mother. Mother.
Sabina's older brother Antero then enters the scene and angrily tells her to go away and leave the family. Sabina, now even more distraught, runs to her room and shoots herself. Her grandfather, the only one in the play who understands her, ends the tragedy by saying, "Her death is but her new life just begun. Her life is bigger than our petty lives now. Ours will be the sadness now. Ours will be the loneliness forever. And we shall not be happy till our selfish hearts have learned to love truly forever." And they all start to pray again, much like how they prayed at the start of the play. Sabina, Leonor Rivera, Pepe Rizal, and Doña Teodora. Hapless characters all who met their tragic endings in the pages of Severino Montano's plays. He crafted them either from his imagination or our country's history and made them speak in English, as did his contemporaries with their own characters in their own plays. But these characters are undeniably Filipino. Their sentiments, their backstories, what they want to achieve in the short span of time given to them by their creators. In fact, their very backbone are and is Filipino. And though tragic their endings may be, Severino Montano's characters, especially the ones mentioned in this lecture, do not just passively and readily accept what life threw their way. Like all the other great dynamic characters of drama before and after them, they also fight tooth and nail to get what they want, to overcome the odds, to conquer those who stand in their way. They might have ended defeated, but in their defeat, they also shone the brightest. Jose Rizal's final moments with his family in parting at Kalamba. Leonor Rivera's final goodnight before closing her eyes very peacefully in the love of Leonor Rivera. Sabina's moment of clarity before facing death on her terms. Defeat, yes, but also actually victory. Endings that are also actually beginnings. As Jose Rizal tells his heartbroken mother right before leaving Kalamba for Europe, it is hard to say goodbye. But let's just think of this as after she dies, Sabina's grandfather tells everyone her death is but her new life just begun. Severino Montano left behind an impressive body of work as well as a blueprint for establishing a national theater, something that is difficult to do in an archipelago of more than 7,000 islands and over 120 languages. The many plays that he wrote, directed, and produced for the Arena Theater of the Philippine Normal College have opened ever-widening pathways for the new generation of young playwrights and directors who, like him, are also in search for truth in their plays and productions. He taught his lessons well, and we will forever be thankful for them. I shall end this lecture with his words. I am interested in both the beauty and the ugliness of human life, and the beauty and the ugliness that defines us as a people. Through the drama, I want to mirror this life, catch its loveliness, and reflect deeply upon its sadness, so that those who see it thus reflected may become happier and wiser. It's a journey of discovering Severino Montano, national artist for theater, titan of the Philippine theater, and his plays. I learned a lot. I was inspired a lot. And I shall now talk about him, his plays, and his trailblazing ways in my playwriting and theater classes and workshops. Thank you, sir. And thank you, everyone.